Hey guys, today we're going to do 6-1, roots and radical expressions. Our objective is to find the nth root, and the essential understanding is corresponding to every power there is a root. For example, just as there are square roots, second powers, just as there are squares, or the second power, there are square roots. And just as there are cubes, or raising something to the third power, there are cube roots, and so on. So the nth root. This is what we were going off of before with our key concept here. So 5 squared is 25, therefore 5 is the square root of 25. 5 is the cube root of 125. 5 to the fourth power is 625, so 5 is the fourth root of 625, or the fourth root of 625 is 5. And so on. This is the definition of an nth root. So if a to the nth power is equal to b, with a and b being real numbers and n a positive integer, then a is an nth root of b. So if n is odd, there is one real nth root of b, denoted in the radical form as nth root of b. If n is even and b is positive, there are two nth roots of b. So the positive root is the principal root, and its symbol is nth root of b. The negative root is the opposite. So that's why when we're taking the square root of something, we do plus and minus, because we need the principal root and the negative root. If b is negative, there are no real nth roots of b. And we know this because when we were taking the square root of negative numbers, that's when we were introduced to imaginary numbers. Here are some vocab, and we need to understand the difference between these vocabulary words. So n is our index. Our radical sign is just the sign, and a is our radicand. Excuse me. Finding all real roots. What are the real cube roots of 0.008? Therefore, I need to know what times itself times itself times itself is equal to 0.008. Or what cubed equals 0.008. So the cube root of 0.008 is equal to 0.2 cubed. So if that's equal to 0.2 cubed, 0.008 is equal to 0.2 cubed, then the cube root of that is equal to 0.2. The cube root of negative 1,000. What cubed equals negative 1,000? Well, negative 10 cubed equals negative 1,000. So the cube root of negative 10 cubed is equal to negative 10. And what is the cube root of 1/27? When we have a fraction in our radical, then we just take the cube root of the numerator and the cube root of the denominator. So this is equal to cube root of 1, which is 1, over cube root of 27, which is 3. What are the real fourth roots of 1? So the fourth root, since that's my index, of 1 is equal to what to the fourth power is equal to 1? 1. When we have an even index, however, we need to do positive and negative. So it's positive and negative 1. The fourth root of negative 0.0001, there are none. And there are no real fourth roots here, because we cannot have an even index and a negative radicand. then the fourth root of 16 over 81 is equal to positive and negative 2 over 3. Because the fourth root of 16 is 2, and the fourth root of 81 is 3. Finding roots. What is each real number root? Once again, cube root of negative 8. Cube root of negative 8. What cubed equals negative 8? Negative 2 cubed, so negative 2 is our real root. Square root of 0.04. What squared equals 0.04? That is 0.2. But since it isn't even, we have to do positive and negative. We cannot take a negative root with an even index, so no real roots. And here, negative 2 squared is the same thing as the square root of 4. And what is the square root of 4? Positive and negative 2. So for any real number a, the nth root of a to the nth power is equal to a if n is odd, and is equal to the absolute value of n if n is even, So the square root of 16 x to the 8th. Basically, even, we need absolute value. Odd, we do not need absolute value. So here we have an even radicand because it is square root. So the square root of 16 is 4 times the absolute value of what times itself equals x to the 4th, the absolute value of x to the 4th power. And since x to the 4th power will always be positive, we don't need the absolute value of that, so it's just 4x to the 4th. The cube root of a to the 6th, b to the 3rd. So basically we're looking for groups of 3. So we can take a to the 6th and rewrite that as a times a times a times a times a times a times b 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 times b. So how many groups of 3 can we have? We have one group of a, two groups of a, one group of b, two groups of b, 3 groups of b. So that means when we're simplifying this, we have a squared on our outside, b to the 3rd power. Using a radical expression, some teachers adjust test scores when a test is difficult. One teacher's formula for adjusting test scores is a is equal to 10 times the square root of r, where a is the adjusted score and r is the raw score. If the raw scores on one test range from 36 to 90, what is the range of the adjusted scores? So we are going to find what our adjusted score is for 36. So a is equal to 10 times the square root of 36, which is equal to 10 times 6, which is 60. Then we have our adjusted score for the highest part of our test range, which is 90. So 10 square root 90, which is equal to 10 times 9.487, which is equal to 94.87, which we'll just round up to about 95. Therefore, the range of the adjusted scores would be from 60 to 95. This is your lesson check.